Well, we just got done seeing the new Purge movie, The Purge Anarchy. And I saw the first one. You didn't, right?
No.
Yeah. I saw the first one, and I thought it had a unique setup. I like movies that have kind of a utopian setting. It's interesting to see where they go with it. And I thought this had an interesting setup. The first Purge disappointed me, though, because I kind of had the same problem everybody else had with it. It doesn't do anything with it. It just takes place in a home, and we just see people trying to break into the home. It just wastes it. Just wasted opportunity. And then I saw the trailers for the new one, and I got a little bit of hope because I thought, well, maybe this time they'll actually run with it a bit more. Maybe we'll actually get to see more of the Purge. Maybe we'll get to see unique stuff happening in this setting. But I wasn't quite sure if they would actually take that risk or if they would just play it safe and just kind of do the same thing over again. Honestly, this is one of the few times I've ever seen people make a movie, get criticized for it, listen to the criticisms, and actually do what everyone wanted them to do in the sequel. This sequel is really good. It's awesome. It's so much better than the first one.
It was so good.
It was so much fun. This was not everything, but this was very much what I was wanting The Purge to be. Most of the movie, if not, well, just about all of the movie, takes place in the city. We have these characters out in the city, different characters from different backgrounds out in the city, and we see weird people, we see freaky people, and we see all these different classes of people doing all sorts of different things on The Purge, and it was really cool. And I will say this right now, I will go ahead and get the stuff I'll go ahead and get the technical side out of it out of the way. It's really not like, as an actual like technical film goes, it's not very good. Okay, it's got a lot of cheap jump scares, a lot of shaky cam during the action scenes.
Oh God.
And for the most part, and the character arcs were very standard. Kind
Generic.
of generic development. It's kind of the same old thing. Like when you see these characters and what their goals are, you know how it's going to happen for them. You know where it's going to end with them, and it does just that. So it's not super, original in that sense. It's not like an action. I don't know if I can say in good faith that it's like a really actually like well made and well written and well done film. But that's not what I was watching this movie for. This was the movie I wanted to see, this creepy, action-packed, utopian movie, where we see just all this freaky stuff happen with this setup. And it works. They totally run with it. And that's really all there is to it. I mean, we could break down the plot. There's not really much to it. Like I said, the plot is very simple. But they just did more with this. And we see just different sides to it. Some things I kind of liked. Before the Purge is happening, there's this scene. Okay, actually, I guess real quick, if you don't know what the Purge is, what the actual Purge is, I'll briefly explain it. The Purge in this future,
It's like
2020 something. Yeah,
something like that.
It takes place a little bit in the future, and I don't know how the government came up with this idea, but the idea is that like crime is at an all-time low, poverty is almost non-existent in America. Like things are doing amazing. Like it's a utopian society, and the reason why is because for 12 hours, one night a year, for 12 hours, all crime is legal, including murder. And they call it the Purge. And when people go out to kill people, they call that purging. That's it. I mean, again, you've probably seen the trailers. They explain it in the trailers, but there you go in case you didn't know. But anyways, like I said, the first one didn't work for quite a few reasons, but the biggest disappointment was that it doesn't even take advantage of this, you know? Instead, the whole first Purge is just set in this house, and we just see a family. And we see people trying to evade the family, and that's it. It doesn't do anything. In this movie, we have a guy whose son was killed, and so he has a vendetta to go out and purge and find the guy that killed his son and kill him to get revenge. And then we have a mother and her daughter who have accidentally been entangled. Well, not accidentally, but they've been a part of this purge because, as we learn later on, the government themselves are actually purging now for economical reasons, which were kind of shoved into the last minute, I thought, but whatever. And then you have...
Well, we needed that last second of good.
Yeah, right. And then we have a couple who is like breaking up soon, and their car breaks...
They really need to tell his sister.
Yeah, that was weird. That was not well done, well explained. And their car breaks down on the highway like just an hour before the purge starts.
Remember the guy cut...
Yeah, I know, but you know, his car breaks down. So you have all these characters, and so the story starts out where we focus on all these characters and their different locations with their different problems, and then as the purge starts to settle in the early part of the evening, they all meet, and the guy who's going after to kill the guy that killed his son, he's kind of the lead. He's like the lead action hero. He has all the guns, and he's the tough one, and he's the one that's kind of protecting everybody.
He's like the ex-military,
and
like
something
knows
like,
what he's doing. Isn't afraid.
And so you have, besides your common purgers that are out there purging, you have two groups of villains in this movie. For most of the movie, you have the guys that you see all over the trailer. They're like this street gang that are wearing these masks. You have the one guy that has a mask that says God on the top. So symbolic. And those guys were pretty funny because, okay, there's one thing I did like about the first Purge. The villains were really over the top and funny. This movie ups that up by a ton.
I felt like they should have been in a Mad Max film.
Yeah, like you have some...
Like even their bikes were like
you have some like
stuff, you know?
road warrior type villains in this movie. They are amazing. You have the street gang wearing masks, and you have like guys on like dirt bikes.
I mean, to be honest though, you don't really see them doing much. All you really see them
just
doing
chasing people.
Is just you know, they just show up and then like, you know, stare at them for a while.
Yeah, with the mask
you don't,
on.
Like, see them again for a while.
Yeah, but I mean, still, like you got them, and the best member of that team was Tony Hawk, Purge skater. You have a guy...
The God guy.
Yeah, he's on a skateboard for part of the movie, which seems so dumb. Like, no offense to skateboarders, it's just... It
doesn't work for that.
It doesn't work, you know, it's laughable.
Well, because okay, he's like in this trench coat, and he has a machete and this
creepy mask.
And he's on this skateboard, just kind of like
just
rolling along. It's just like, what
slow
are you doing?
motion wave, like, yeah.
It would have been so much better if he would have been roller skating, man, you know.
And then the other group of villains are, at first you don't know who they are, but they're decked out in like professional SWAT team.
They're like really professional.
And so you don't know who they are. But one thing that we start to see is that both of them are actually capturing people, but they're also killing people too. So lead trench coat action hero, I'm just going to call him that because I don't remember his name.
Well, we didn't learn his name. His name...
Oh, that's true.
It was Sergeant. That was his
name.
Right. That's what everyone called him, Sergeant.
So we're going to call the main guy Sergeant, the guy that's going after his dead son's killer. Sergeant is like, you know, he takes pity on the couple that got stranded out on the highway and the mother and the daughter who got in the middle of this, and so he kind of protects them under his coat, under his lead. The whole film, he's like, you know, I'm going to protect you for now, but I'm going to leave. But when you guys are safe, I'm going to go find the guy that killed my son. I don't know about you. I kind of thought it was obvious. Like, he's not going to end up doing that. Like, that's his goal in the beginning. Obviously, he's going to have a change of heart in the end of the film.
Like, I don't want to spoil too much, but when they got to the home of the
when
person,
that is confronted,
when she tells him that there isn't a car, I feel like he would have left if there was.
Well, yeah, but that's the point. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But my point, that's because he wasn't developed yet.
He wanted to do that, but yeah.
Yeah. By the end of it, though, they finally get to him, and he finally spares the guy, which I thought was, while it was a very cliche and predictable arc for that character, it got the job done.
Mm-hmm.
The actor that plays him was one of the villains in the new Captain America. I don't know his name. He was pretty cool in it, though. I thought he was a solid action hero lead.
Well, I liked him in this movie.
I liked him. He was cool. And the mother and the daughter I thought were pretty good, too.
I gotta say, one thing that really bothered me about him, like, this is just...
Sergeant?
Yeah, Sergeant, was he never put the stock on his gun down. He kept his stock folded the entire movie, and that made me so mad.
Well, it looks cool that way.
No.
Yeah, I know.
Unfold your stock.
I kind of thought that, too, at one point. And I'm not a gun guy. Yeah.
But he's just running around the whole movie like...
Yeah, one-handed.
Like, whatever. Okay, whatever.
Yeah. What can you do?
My rant.
And the mother and daughter, I thought, they were fine. Like, they weren't bad. The only... Out of the 5 main characters, the couple that got stranded on the highway, they were by far the weakest. They were just...
Most generic.
They were super generic. I didn't give a crap about their marriage/relationship ending.
I think they were just girlfriend and boyfriend.
Yeah, they really don't... They don't explain that at all.
They don't really explain anything about them.
They really don't, and I don't care either. Like, so it's kind of just pointless.
Like, it never even explains where they're going or why they're
No,
out.
and they keep talking before the purge happens, and we're seeing, like, what their dilemma is. They keep saying, like, I think we need to tell your sister. And he's like, no, we can't. And it's like, why does the sister matter? I don't understand what's going on.
It's like, at this point, it's like an hour before the purge starts.
Yeah.
And they're just, like, out buying groceries
it is
stuff.
like an hour before the purge starts. And these people,
that no one is, like, in a hurry at all.
They have to go...
Before the purge starts, everyone is just, like... It's just like a normal day, you know? It's just...
And they do that in the first purge, too, which I thought... I guess some people are going to be dumb about it, but let's be honest. If you don't want to be a part of the purge, you should just take the day off work and spend your whole day in the house and prepare so when it does happen, you are good to go.
I mean, it's up until about like 45 minutes before it starts, there are people driving around and like walking around and like, you guys know it starts in like an hour, don't you? It's like, Jesus.
So
and then we got the road warriors just hanging out in the parking lot.
Yeah, that was funny. Their entrance was so funny, unintentionally funny.
Their entrance was really sudden too.
Yeah, it actually was even though it was a pointless jump scare, it was a jump scare I didn't see coming. It got me. I'll admit it. I'll admit when a jump scare
got me.
So, you know, pretty much most of the movie is just these 5 characters led by Sergeant going through the city, trying to be protected. They run into different bad guys. They kill different bad guys. They run away from different bad guys. I'll go into the specifics on that in a minute. And ultimately, they finally end up getting captured by the street gang wearing masks. And this is where we see the part that we've seen in the trailer, where they are all led to this like underground area where these super high class sociopaths are having
rich people.
are having an auction to have them placed into an area, like a hunting ground, and have these rich people hunt them down. So it's kind of like Hard Target or The Running Man, you know, rich people hunting the defenseless, that kind of scenario. But it was cool though, because even though that scene, I think it would have been better if that wasn't all over the trailer so you didn't know that was going to happen. That was a really good scene. It was really creepy, actually, because...
Well, I gotta say, the trailers didn't really reveal what the rich people were doing.
Yeah, you knew they were going to...
I thought that they were, like, selling them as slaves or something.
Yeah, like, in the trailer, you know that they're being bidded for something, but you don't know for what. Yeah, I'll give them that. But that whole scene is great, because they're all, like, on their knees, and they're in front of this huge crowd of, like, dining rich sociopaths, and you have this old lady, like, on a microphone just being like, oh, this is so great, and they're playing, like, really nice music, and it's actually done very subtly, and because it's done with subtlety, it's actually really creepy, and it's actually really effective. And you know, like, you're just thinking the whole time this scene goes on, you're like, this crazy stuff is about to go down. Like, you know this is going to get crazy.
Yeah.
And, like, they actually did a really good job building the suspense. And when that scene does happen, where they're out in this, like, battlegrounds, and these rich people are going after them, it's actually a really, for the most part, well done scene. Again, the action scenes are really shaky. And that scene in particular actually has the worst camera work because it's really dark, so you can't tell what the crap is going on. But with the exception of that, it's a really good scene. And so Sergeant, action hero, he manages to kill all the bidders that were going after them.
Except for two of them.
Two of them run away when they realize that they don't stand a chance. So, of course, the people that are running this auction are like, well, crap. We just got to kill these people then before they cause more trouble. So they send their whole security in there. And they're like, you know, our 5 heroes are like, oh man, we're screwed, we're going to die, okay. And then, of course, they get saved. Throughout the film, of the 5 characters, there's the mother and the daughter. The daughter, who's like in her maybe like mid to late 20s, she has been following online a protest group that's led by not Samuel L. Jackson. This guy that looks just like Samuel L. Jackson, but it's not Samuel L. Jackson.
Like rebels.
Yeah, they're this like rebel protest group that rants online about how the Purge.
Anti-Purge.
Yeah, they're anti-Purge. They talk about how corrupt it is. It doesn't do what it's supposed to do.
All it does is just torment
the poor and give the rich. Yeah, exactly. And so the leader of this group throughout the whole movie, we see his protesting videos. And he's like, you know, we will retaliate. We will not let this all. And so at this point in the movie, which
really for me is kind of like really hypocritical.
Yeah.
Basically, they're saying we're gonna fight against the purge by purging.
Yeah. Oh, the guy flat out says, you know, the only way to stop this is for them to see their own blood or something. He says something like that to justify it.
He talks in mannerisms.
Yeah.
And stuff.
And so. You know, the snobby auction people security is about to kill our 5 heroes, and then that's when the rebel team.
Well, no, it's 4 at that point because the one guy.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the husband of the 5 of the boring couple that we don't like. Husband gets shot.
He just kind of gets shot randomly too. Like
it came out of nowhere. Yeah, it's like okay.
They're just like sitting there like having a conversation. It's just like
yeah, he just gets shot up, and so he dies. Again, I don't care. He was one of the blandest characters of the bunch. And then right after that, the rebel team, for the first time in the movie, we actually see them come in, and they just annihilate everyone from the auction that was there. And so throughout the course of this evening, we learn that the second group of villains, the SWAT team people, are actually working for the government. And we don't know the story behind that, but we know that they're from the government. And so at the very end of the film, the climax, Sergeant, action hero guy, confronts the guy that killed his son. He's about ready to kill him, but then he doesn't. He spares him. He learns to forgive. And right after this, he gets shot by the leader of the government group, the leader of the SWAT team that's working for the government. And the guy, for exposition's sake, explains why the government's involved. And he gives this talk about how...
Well, basically he just explains that the citizens aren't killing enough on their own, so the government has to start killing to
the Purge is
supplement.
Which I have a hard time believing. But the Purge is not fulfilling its proper death toll, so now the government has to force some in. And then right before he finishes Sergeant, the guy that killed his son actually comes in and kills the government guy. And then the mother and daughter take Sergeant to the hospital. Happy ending.
And right after the guy kills the guy that was about to kill him, the Purge ends.
Yeah, the Purge ends. Yeah, Purge is
there
over.
was like 5 minutes left of the Purge at this point, so...
I'll have to remember to put in the beginning of this video a spoiler alert, because we just gave the whole movie away. You know, I don't care. It's the Purge. So...
I gotta say, the siren that they used to signal the start of the Purge, that was creepy.
Yeah, they did that in the first one. I actually liked that in the first one, too. Mm-hmm.
And the whole like the PSA alert thing. It's like this is not a drill. This is
it's one of those things that
signaling the start of the annual purge.
Yeah.
That was creepy.
Yeah, like I said, they do a good job with the build up there. So that's kind of the plot in a nutshell. And
like the rules of the like even though it's like anarchy technically there's like rules it's like
you only use a certain amount of weapons.
10 government officials can't be touched and you can only use a certain
class
grade of
4
weapons.
below weapons. So I'll explain the plot right there just so I can now say, without having to go into order of it, I can say the cool things about this movie. So what didn't I like about it? Shaky cam. Again, very annoying jump scares, and also just dull character development. I mean, it's just, again, as far as like characters go, this is nothing special. As far as like
I'd say the main guy had a lot of character development.
Yeah, but I thought it was fine. But I thought I thought it was okay, but I thought it was still kind of, for me, I thought it was pretty predictable.
Cliche.
Yeah, cliche. He learned his lesson in the end that violence isn't going to bring back his dead son. I feel like that's been done many times, but that's just me. Character-wise, nothing that special. Plot-wise, nothing that special. But
really, the plot is that the purge is.
It really is just the purge is happening. That's why the plot was so easy to tell in 2 minutes, like under 5 minutes. So, what is it about this movie that's cool? What is it that we liked so much about it? Well, like I said, the reason I want to see these Purge movies is to see what they're going to do with this premise. So do we get a lot of that? Well, yeah, they're out in the city. So we see this weird Tony Hawk street gang. We see the government get involved, and the government team are like driving these semis with miniguns attached to the end of them.
The first death
is them pulling up to these two people that are going out to purge, we assume. The back door was in the main government has a minigun, and he just blows them away.
My gosh.
And then you got there's this hilariously creepy, funny scene where the 5 people are out running through the streets, and we see this fat, like Kathy Bates from Misery chick that's on a rooftop, blowing a machine gun in the air while shouting into a megaphone this like religious ramble while cursing up a storm. Like, you got that weird moment, and then you have like
the guy gets caught in the trap right after.
Yeah, you have a trap. You have traps that are going on.
Well, see, it's like while you see these 5 characters running through the city, being chased by the street gang. It's like while they're running through the city, you see stuff happening.
Exactly. It's just like you see them running. You see a bus at one point drive by and it's completely on fire. You just see all this insanity happening, and there's also an unexpectedly intense moment in the movie where they're hiding out at a friend's apartment with this family, and the host of the family, who's like the daughter, she's like super outgoing. She's like, yeah, come in, take it. And
she's the best friend of.
She's the best friend of the mom of the mom and daughter duo, so to speak. And because a good portion of the movie is them, the 5 people, like the mom is like, we need to get to my friend's apartment. She can let us hide out. And it's about, there's maybe like 30, 40 minutes of the movie left at this point. And they get to the apartment, and here's what I thought. I thought like, oh, they're gonna like get there, and her best friend is like dead already, and they're gonna get captured. That's not what happens. The best friend is there, and she's like, yeah, come in. And it turns out they stay there for like 5 minutes, and it turns out that the best friend is actually planning on killing her husband along with her sister. And
wait, is that what was gonna happen?
Yeah, because like she found out they were having an affair.
I'm so confused. Okay, I see what you're.
Yeah.
Well, okay, yeah. Go ahead.
So I mean, that just kind of came out of nowhere, and I was like, oh, that was kind of a nice turn of events. I guess we're not going to take a moment to kind of breathe and relax. And there's also this scene where they go into the subway, which I thought was a bad decision. But the gang...
Okay, can we talk about the bad decisions? Okay, not only are they going through this city where people are going around killing people, but when they're running, they're like running through the middle of the street.
They are running right in the middle of the street.
And like going through the worst places that they can. Like, hey, I have a good idea. Let's go in the subway. You know?
Yeah,
It's like, what?
Normally, in any Purge or not Purge, when you're downtown late at night, you don't want to go through alleys for obvious reasons. But if there's a Purge going on, I feel like if you are smack downtown, I feel like you would want to rely in the alleys everywhere you go. Because that's like the least like open spaced area, you know? Like you're not quite, you don't have a bullseye right on your head.
Yeah, see, and I love it that one part where it's like, you know, the main guy's like, they're all waiting.
Yeah.
The girl's on the phone and he's like looking up and he's like, hey, what are you looking at? He's like, snipers.
Yeah, he's like, I'm looking for snipers.
Okay, so what should we do next? Oh, let's go right out in the middle of the street and just run. It's like, what?
So they go into the subway, which although that was a dumb decision, a cool car chase ends up happening because they get into the subway and everything's hunky-dory, and then these guys on four-wheelers start chasing them through the subways, and they have flamethrowers. And it was kind of cool and kind of bizarre. And so you have that, you have the psycho woman on the roof, you have the people in the apartment, you have the crazy auctioneers people, you have the street gang with Tony Hawk Purge Skater, you have the government people with miniguns and semis. I mean, you just got, this movie is insane.
Well, and you just see all kinds of things and a lot of like aftermath too. Of,
yeah.
Like, you know, you see lots of like bodies and stuff like that.
And
you know what happened.
There's a moment.
Like the one with the dude that was like chained up.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, there's a scene where they're like by all these banks and yeah, they see a guy that's been like hung up on a building, on a government building. He has like a sign on his neck and it reveals that he was like a stockbroker that ripped off a bunch of little guys. And so now this is his justice for it, and he's like butchered apart. And then this is in the trailer, some of them, there's a moment where they're driving and they drive past this random woman who is soaked in blood, and she's like standing there with this freaky look on her face. Like, this whole movie is crazy. And like
it's like that one scene, like right before they go into the subways, where they're all standing around that corner, and then the main guy like looks around the corner and sees all those burning trucks, and then the people and all the bodies, and there's just this one dude just sitting next to this body, just stabbing it. He's just like stabbing it, and it's just like oh my god.
These villains are so bonkers, and they're just like the villains in the first Purge. The one thing I relate about that movie, they're a great combination of being funny and creepy at the same time. Oh my gosh, yeah, this movie was a blast, dude. Like, again, can I really say it's like a good movie? I don't know. It's not very... It's got a lot of fun.
It was lots of fun.
But for an entertaining movie, it's a lot of fun. And again, I like movies that are utopian.
It's a movie that you can watch that's fun, but not fun just because it's really dumb.
No, it has some... It's a
fun
moments.
movie that has...
It's over the top. It's got creepy... It's got scary moments at work. It's got action moments at work. It's got some drama moments at work. It's got humor that even works, both intentionally but mostly unintentionally. But still, it's not just a dumb, fun movie. Now, again, like I said, can I say it's like a quality film? Not really.
It's not going to be winning any Oscars.
No, of course not. But... It's certainly not trying to be,
no,
but but I mean, yeah, I think it was a lot of fun. I don't know if I can really. I don't know if I'll give it. I won't give it a rating because this isn't the kind of movie that I feel like. Because of the way I enjoyed it, I don't think it would be right to give it a rating in the same sense that I would give Godzilla or Edge of Tomorrow or the Lego Movie a rating. So I'll just say it's a lot of fun.
It's worth going to see.
It's worth seeing if you are into the idea.
It's definitely a movie that you want to go see. I mean, it's like it is brutal and it is creepy. So I mean, if you don't want to go see this with your family,
if you are one of the people like me who saw the first Purge and you were disappointed because it didn't live up to its potential, check this one out. It doesn't go all the way, but it's a start in the right direction. This is a big step up from the first one. and it was way better than I thought it was going to be. It was pleasantly surprising.
In a way, it almost kind of sets up for the next one because at the end,
absolutely
it
does.
The Purge ended. It's like
364
days till the next Purge. Hey, stay tuned because we're going to show you that. You know?
I could be wrong. I think they did that in the first one too. I could be wrong, but I think they did. And that's what's nice about this one. You don't have to see the first one to follow this because
I never saw the first one and I was fine.
And there's only one recurring character, which I thought was actually kind of cool. If you've seen the first Purge, the homeless man that the whole movie's kind of centered around has a cameo in the new one, and it was actually pretty cool to see him. One minor thing I want to point that I liked in the movie too was I really like how it's a couple hours before the Purge and people are walking down the streets and there's these two guys on the corner that are trying to sell weapons at the last minute, and they're acting like as if they're like at a concert trying to sell tickets to people. It's like you ever been to like a sporting event?
They're like hawking guns.
Yeah. It's like if you're at a sporting event or a concert and they're like two on the floor, two tickets. These people are like last minute Purge weapons, last minute Purge guns.
Hey little lady, you want one of these?
Yeah,
this one was perfect.
You want a gun? It's perfect for you. Like it was so funny, but at the same time I was like, that's what would happen though.
Oh yeah.
That's really what it would be like. I thought that was a nice touch. Like there's a lot of putting it over, since we've already overstated this enough. There's a lot of little things in this movie that are really cool that it kind of expand this world that it takes place in. So overall, I am giving it a positive review. I think it's a lot. I thought it was a lot of fun. I do recommend it. Mm-hmm. I think it's a fun action suspense / horror film. Yeah, I definitely recommend it. Would you recommend it too?
Yeah, I would. It's good.
Okay. Well, we can briefly talk about Planet of the Apes if you want.
Okay.
We'll try to keep this short because this is already a really long review. We saw last Saturday Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And this is also a really good film. Although this is a better film than The Purge. This is actually a really good film.
Yeah,
but
I love that film.
It was
so good.
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes was really good. You probably already knew that because it's been getting a lot of universal acclaim, but it really is. I thought Rise of the Planet of the Apes was good, but I didn't think it was great. I thought it was just good. But I did think when I saw Rise, I thought, well, it's a good setup for a much better sequel, and that's exactly what it was because this sequel was much better than Rise. Caesar was really cool in it. It had some. I thought the bad ape, the villain ape, was really good. He was like in the from the start that he's going to be the villain. But
the scene like when all the apes go to the human settlement to like tell them that not to come back, you know, and they're all walking away, and Koba's sitting on the horse with the thing like this, and like that intense stare, and it's like, oh Jesus.
Yeah, like it's kind of we focused more of the film on the apes than we do the humans. Oh, yeah. But that was
you don't see the first human until like 30 minutes
in.
Yeah,
and I think it was a smart move for two reasons. One, the apes were honestly more interesting than most of the human characters, and two, it was a total change of perspective than the Rise of the Planet of the Apes. And Caesar is a really likable character, and but going back to that, the human characters are really generic. And a lot of them are jerks just to be jerks, especially that main guy, who's the guy that causes trouble for everybody because he's stupid and shoots that one ape for no reason. And he
blames all the apes for the.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not to get too much into the plot, but basically it's a post-apocalyptic movie because this flu that that this guy believes that the apes started, like wiped out most of the population on the world.
Just because really just because James Franco is a terrible scientist and doesn't do a good job keeping his.
It wasn't him. It was his assistant dude because he lost his.
Oh
gas mask and he got infected.
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
It was that guy that did it.
You're right. It's been a while since I've seen Rise.
Yeah.
The only human character that was really good was Gary Oldman, and that's because it's Gary Oldman.
In a way, though, like if I remember right, they were experimenting on Koba in the first one. Like the guy that was the villain in this one, and he like did something that made that guy lose his mask. And put it back on. So it's kind of Koba's fault, really.
Maybe. I didn't know Koba was in the first one.
Yeah, he was.
Again, it's been a long time.
Because remember, he's the one at the very end when the helicopter was teetering on the edge with like kind of the villain in it. He's the one that walks up and pushes it off.
Oh, it's been a long time, dude.
He was in the first one.
Okay.
He was in the first one.
Yeah, the only human character that really worked in this was Gary Oldman, and he's not in it as much as the trailer may make you think, which is disappointing.
It kind of had...
It's the Godzilla effect of Bryan Cranston.
Effect, yeah.
It does to Gary Oldman what Godzilla did to Bryan Cranston. He's in it more than Bryan Cranston was in Godzilla. He is.
And for the scenes that he is in it, he's really good.
He's really good.
He's really good.
But yeah, the action scenes are really good.
Oh.
Especially the main one that happens kind of later half into the movie where the
Basically
apes invade the city. Like
that's kind of like not really the climax, but like the big battle scene, you know.
Yeah, well, I call it the midpoint.
Yeah.
It's the midpoint of the story.
Because the
climax is Copa versus Caesar.
Yeah.
But spoiler alert. But yeah, I mean, there's really not much to say about it. The only other complaint I would have, besides most of the humans being generic, is that this is gonna sound kind of weird. The story itself is good and creative, but the way how they tell the story is really cliche. If that makes sense. It might make more sense if you actually go see it, but like the way how this movie is structured, it makes it very predictable.
Like, here's the humans, here's the asshole guy, and here's the good people. Here's the apes, here's the asshole ape, and here's
exactly.
The people. It's like, okay, and what's the asshole human gonna do?
Yeah, what is he gonna do to? Yeah,
this?
exactly, and that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's the first half of the movie, I didn't care for a whole lot, but the second half made up for it because it was really good. But the first half I didn't care a whole lot for, with the exception of Caesar because he was awesome. But because the first half is literally humans trying to get along with apes, and one person from the apes and one person from the humans screwing it up for everybody.
It's like the humans want to go into ape territory because the apes have something in their territory that the humans need. And so before they go in, the apes tell them that they have to give up all their guns.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there going, okay, well, the asshole guy is still going to have a gun.
Not only does he keep a gun
hidden somewhere, and they're going to find it.
And not only do they find it, but the moment they do, he takes it, throws Caesar's baby to the side, and then starts pointing the gun at them like a moron. So yeah, that's
Caesar beats the shit.
Yeah. So the first half of the movie is just people being jerks to make the plot happen.
Yeah.
But the second half makes up for it because the second half's really good. Mm-hmm. That's really all there is to it. I give it a B+. Solid film. Really good. It's been over a week now, so...
Okay, I'm kind of biased though because I'm such a big fan of it, you know. But I agree. I mean, I give it an A.
Yeah. Go for it. Yeah.
I loved it.
We can't always agree.
Yeah.
Otherwise it'd be boring.
That's just because I love...
No, I hear you. No, it's a dang good movie, and
it sets up for another one.
Yeah, and it has some beautiful camera work. The opening shot and the closing shot are very symmetrical, and I really liked how they did that. Again, the big battle scene at the midpoint is really well done. There's some long shots.
The tank shot.
There's a tank shot that's really well done. The apes actually, I mean, for CGI apes, they look really good.
They do.
So yeah, solid film. Go see it. So that's all for now. I will go ahead and, if you're with me next time, we can review Snowpiercer. We saw Snowpiercer. This review is going on way too long as it is, but we'll review Snowpiercer another time. I'll review Joe. I saw Joe. I'll review that too. And I'll have some other movies lined up. So thanks for watching. See ya.